Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have arrived at work with little to no event at all. Actually, it was quite the calm ride, traffic-wise. I mean, obviously there was traffic, it's Monday morning, half term is over and people are going back to work and ferreting their kids around school. Not ferreting, ferrying. Anyhow, I'm here. I'm back. It's been a fortnight away from this place. I made very few videos in that time, and I accomplished absolutely bugger all. So, it was a holiday well spent. I mean, let's go into all the details of what I did on my almost enforced holiday, as I had to use up holiday hours at work. Tuesday. So I finished on the Monday. On the Tuesday, I don't recall actually doing anything at all. I think I did try writing. That was the day when I was I was rewriting chapter 5 or 6 of the children's book for the millionth time. And I'm now at chapter 8, so something went right along the way. Wednesday. I swear I went out with my mother somewhere. Yes, I went to Manchester and I saw my friend Liz from university, and a fun time was had by all before we came back, and my mother had a blood test, and then we went over to my grandmother's, and then Thursday came around and I was meeting a guest speaker for the writers group, Jill Hoffs, non-fiction writer of maritime books, I suppose you could call them. I've talked about them before. I will leave links to my videos regarding her books, in the description. Then we had the Friday. Me, my brother and my sister drove all the way up to Carlisle, 4 hours journey, to drop off my younger brother, and then me and my sister turned around and we came back. Luckily there was no traffic this time and it didn't take as much, but Lord, that was a journey. Saturday free. Was finally getting around to watching The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Sunday came around, and then my nephew was brought to me. I love my nephew. He is probably my favourite person on the planet. And when the opportunity arose to look after him during his half term, my original thinking and the words out of my mouth were no. Because it was a week. And I happened to be on holiday. And I was hoping to write and relax and read and get all this stuff done. But my nephew was brought to me, and thus began last week, which was probably the most like a holiday of either of the weeks. Whilst I did stay in on Monday with my nephew, and we watched PJ Masks and we watched Power Rangers and a bit of Paw Patrol. I document this in one of my videos. And we played all day with action figures, and my nephew has this thing where he likes the Power Rangers, but I think he prefers the villains. That was fine. Tuesday, it started again. This time we watched Arthur Christmas. We watched Ice Age The Meltdown, I don't know which one that is, and eventually my sister got home around 1:30. I had to go to the dentist. I beggared off, and when I came back, they were all going up the field, and guess who ended up going up to the field with my nephew, and we climbed what he believes was a mountain. Just a very tall hill. But to a 4-year-old, it was a mountain. So then Wednesday came around. Once again, these are 7 o'clock in the morning days, although, sometimes I would wait till 8. And then Wednesday came round to me grandmother's. We went. We got Costa coffee, not for the child, obviously. He had a sandwich. He had a baby chino. We turned back round. We went back to Macclesfield so that my mother could attend something, and me and my nephew walked to the park. I spent 3 hours in that park on Wednesday. We went on all of the children's playthings. He climbed around a bandstand where he proclaimed that nobody else in the world had a Charlie like me. And to be honest, it was a bit heartwarming. Then he found a stick. And for the final hour, after deciding he wanted to go back to his grandmother, he decided no, he wanted to stay here and he wanted to turn people into frogs. I don't know whether it was because it was Halloween and he didn't properly understand it, but he believes he turned a lot of people into frogs. In fact, the most embarrassing moment came when we were leaving the park to go back to my mother, and a bespectacled young gentleman walked past, and my nephew proclaimed that this man was in fact Harry Potter. And despite me telling him not to say it, he kept saying it extremely loudly, and it was one of those awkward moments you really don't want to be having, in which you just don't know what to say. Thursday. Well, anyway, that was good, because that tired out my nephew. He fell asleep. We delivered him back to his grandparents asleep. Thursday, I think, was the day that we took him to Tegsnow's. He had a hot chocolate. He had a cookie. Friday, we took him to Macclesfield Forest. We took him home. We had been toying with maybe going to Blackpool Lights, but that didn't happen. And then, on Friday, my brother, his father, turned up at the house, and all hell broke loose, because my nephew was extremely excitable. Also, another heartwarming moment, Paw Patrol. On the Thursday or the Friday, they sang a song, in which they sang, "You Are a Perfect Friend." My nephew sang it to me. So despite the fact he doesn't understand I am indeed his uncle, at least he knows that I am a friend. This did mean I had to rush a few things this weekend, because there'd been a lot I wanted to accomplish last week, and thus I ended up making 4 videos on Saturday, uploading them all on Saturday. All wrap-ups and the Cozy Reading Night vlog. You've probably seen them. If you haven't, don't worry about it. I'll leave them linked in the description as well. You really should be checking out my content. And yesterday I did an hour reading, an hour writing for the entire day, so that I finished writing chapter 7 of the children's book, and I am about 1,000 words into the 8th chapter of the children's book. These are all being rewritten for issues I had where back in the day I was writing this at university, and I was so focused on showing, overtelling, and creating a children's book full of intrigue and suggestion and magic and all that fun stuff that I actually forgot to include the history. And it has become very confusing going back and rereading it, so I can only imagine that for any reader it would be confusing as well, because whilst I, as an author, know the history of this world, and I know exactly what's going on in there, me readers don't. So, at the moment, there's a bit of heavy exposition as I try to just get everything down on the page so I can move on with the story. I know it's a rewrite and I probably shouldn't be doing this at this stage, but I think once I've got that done, and if people are kind to me and I get them to read it for me, they can help me figure out how to fix these things, because I think that they're necessary to be there in the story for us to be able to move on as readers. Anyway, I'm quite looking forward to finishing this chapter, because the content I'm writing now was originally in chapter 5 of the draft, the children's book, and I'm moving stuff around for clarity's sake, really. And whilst I know that in editing again certain things might be cut out, right now it's there. And then I also read 300 pages of the Museum of Innocence yesterday. I only have 128 pages left, and I'm quite looking forward to finishing that book, because it's fantastic. I can't abide, I'm saying it again, I can't abide the actions of the main character, but just reading about him trying to explain himself and explain why he's such a div is one of those great things in literature. It also discusses so many topics about life, and it's one of those books that you just wish to share with everyone. At least I wish to share it with everyone, and I know that probably half the people that I share my books with would hate this book, but I'm really enjoying it. And then I watched Doctor Who. Did I tell you I was watching Doctor Who? I don't watch a lot of television, but I'm watching Doctor Who. For me, it's great, because I'm not a big fan of series arcs. I don't know whether people know this. I don't like having to follow a show for 22 episodes and it's always going to be related back to the same thing. I like to be able to dip in and out of things. Whilst I have watched every episode this series, I'm not really watching anything else on television because I've been reading this last month. And so it's been quite fun. I'm quite fond of it. I think that it's a little bit marvellous, and I'm using that adjective a lot at the moment. Watch it show up in the children's book at some point. And yeah, it's not as convoluted or confusing as the last few series have been, and to me, that's quite great. Anyhow, that was my fortnight. I hope you enjoyed hearing the tales of me and my nephew, and if you didn't, well, I really do not care. I hope you got something out of this video. If you were quite bored, then please do feel free to send your comments to Ofcom. All complaints are listened to, I believe. I don't know how Ofcom works. And until next time, that is all.